Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up today, we're going to be reviewing the two big matches which took place over the weekend. First up, we have Man City running away 3-1 winners over West Ham. And the game everyone is talking about, Brighton dismantling and taking apart Manchester United. Also, 3-1. It was a very exciting weekend, viewers and subscribers. Lots of massive results. But we will start off by first looking at, the Man City West Ham game. And in that one, it was a very interesting game, a very exciting game. End-to-end stuff at times. And both teams, I would say, played very well. But Man City just coming away with the victory in that one. Of course, the game went as I anticipated, in the preview show. Of course, it was the usual Man City lineup. Alvarez really playing well and occupying that Kevin De Bruyne position just behind the main striker Haaland. And of course, Bernardo Silva was reintroduced into the starting 11. And new signing Doku playing on the left-hand side, predominantly of that Man City attack. West Ham, on the other hand, Moyes came in with a plan, and obviously the plan was to stack the midfield. So as a result, Soucek came in, Alvarez came in, and of course the old Ward-Prowse and also Paqueta. So the midfield was stacked. Obviously the plan was to sit back, allowed Man City to dominate the possession, and pretty much West Ham was playing in a low block and then quickly transitioning into their counter-attacking setup. And that is how the first goal came about. Doku lost the ball in the West Ham half of the field. Quick counter-attack down the right-hand side led to a cross, and Ward-Prowse stooped for a header and buried it in the back of the net. A quick counter. But even before that, that goal came against the run of play because it was Man City who was the dominant team from the whistle. And Areola, our hearts must go after Areola because he pretty much kept West Ham in the game. Early out in around the 6th minute, a series of saves prevented Man City from taking the lead. Haaland again missing a big chance also. So it was a dominant early exchange from Man City, but against the run of the play, that counter-attack led to West Ham taking the lead, and they pretty much held that lead until halftime. Of course, just after the halftime break, Man City burst back right into the game. Within a minute of halftime, Doku down the left flank dribbled into the box and unleashed a shot which beat the keeper, and that was 1-1. Of course, it was an exciting game, Man City continuing to dominate possession, passing the ball around and looking to create chances. West Ham again continued to soak up pressure and try to take advantage of set plays. They were the team that led the league in terms of goals from set plays last season, and it was evident in this game that that was their most obvious route back into the game. And they forced Man City into a few saves and a few dangerous moments from set pieces. But it was again the Man City attack continually, creating chances, carving out chances, and Bernardo Silva with an excellent scooped ball from Alvarez scored, made it 2-1 at that point, and then later on Haaland got his goal after, being given a number of chances within this game, which the keeper either saved or he failed to convert. So it was a very exciting game. West Ham was in the game for long periods. They were still holding on, but the dominance of Man City, the quality of Man City just rose to the top. And in the end, it was a solid victory for Man City. But for sure, West Ham should take some positives from this game. This is their first loss of the season. They've made a brilliant start. So it's now just down to the coaching staff and the players, to pick themselves up and move on to the next one. But a very interesting game. The tactics of Moyes, not too surprising. Really, not many teams can compete with Man City when it comes to possession. So Moyes took a more defensive approach, try to, create a low block defense and playing on the counter. And it worked perfectly in the first half. But as the game wore on, Man City became more and more dominant. Chances opened up, and eventually Man City, the dominant play of Man City, pretty much led to this 3-1 result. So Man City remaining unbeaten. That's now 5 wins from 5 games, top of the league. One of 4 teams which have remained unbeaten throughout the course of these first 5 games in the EPL. And of course, they will be looking to take this form into their next game, which is in the Champions League. And come weekend, it's back to some EPL action. So this game really did not pop up any major surprises in my estimation. And you could classify this as another routine Man City win. West Ham did give it a go, but quality. The quality was too much for West Ham, but they didn't roll over. They gave a good account of themselves, and they can definitely take some positives from this game, going forward. But that was the Man City game. Over in the next game, that is where the big talking points lie. That one, Brighton winning at Old Trafford, 3 goals to 1. And this was a lesson that Brighton really taught this Man United team. It deserved pretty much outclass Ten Hag, in his tactics and his approach to this game. And you could see that from the very first minute that this was a well-oiled, well-drilled, well-coached Brighton team. And as I predicted in the preview show, 3-1, and this game was spot on with my prediction. It went exactly how I thought it would go. Just based on the Brighton play, Man U was playing at home, but they came off as the team playing away. It was a dominant display from Brighton. And I tell you, Brighton is going to cause all sort of problems this season for these so-called top teams. I am telling you, this is the first of many upsets that you will see coming from this Brighton team. And it was just, sublime to watch this team play. In terms of the game, Manchester United starting at home started well. In fact, the Brighton's first goal came against the run of play. Manchester United setup was pressing Brighton high in terms of their possession game and had some successes in terms of winning the ball or forcing some turnovers in their defensive third, but really could not capitalize on, the early half chances which, presented themselves. And as the game grew, Brighton grew. As the game wore on, you could see the strength of Brighton coming to the fore and the decline of this Manchester United team. Ten Hag had no answers. Brighton dominated the midfield. Casemiro looked as if he lost his legs. The wingers for Brighton, Mitoma, Adingra, they were creating all sort of issues, all sort of problems, because it was just Brighton moving the ball in midfield and then making that switch to the wings. These speedy wingers, oftentimes caught the Manchester fullbacks in a 2v1 situation. And it was just beautiful to watch this Brighton team flow, and flow they did, took the lead and pretty much never looked back. It got so chaotic for the Manchester United team that Brighton went 3-0 up. And if not for a late consolation by, the substitute Hannibal coming on, it would have been an even more dominant Brighton performance. Of course, things could have been different had that Hoyland goal stood. That one was chalked off for the ball going across the touchline. And this was, of course, confirmed by VAR. So in my estimation, that was one of the big talking points in this game. But I felt it was a good VAR decision to rule that goal out because upon subsequent replays, you could clearly see that all the ball had crossed all the line. And at that point in the game, it would have brought Manchester back in, and the score at that point would have been 1-1. So it could have been a very different game, and it may have been a 1-1 going into, halftime. But suffice to say, that goal was chalked off, and Brighton took a lead into the half. And come second half, Brighton pretty much looked the totally dominant team. They were just inviting the Manchester United press. And then, of course, just passing the ball between the lines. In fact, the second goal scored by Grass, it was a 30 pass move. Can you believe it, viewers and subscribers? 30 consecutive passes that culminated in Grass burying it in the back of the net. 30 pass. That just goes to show how dominant a team Brighton is, how well coached they are at this point in time, and what a magnificent system, De Zerbi have them playing in. 30 passes leading to a sublime goal. And of course, coming off the bench, again, some very impactful substitutions. Your players on loan. Fatih came on and could have caused or could have had himself a goal, if not for a superb save by the Manchester United goalkeeper. And of course, the third goal, again, was scored by a sub. Beautiful build-up play again. And it was Pedro who buried that one in the back of the net. And at that point in time, the Manchester heads were down. The crowd, the fans started to leave the stadium. And really, Ten Hag had no answers for this Brighton performance. No answers. Tactics at that point went through the window. And if not for, substitution, pretty much throwing everything on the kitchen sink at the Brighton team at this point in time. And Hannibal found the back of the net from around 20, 22, 23 yards out. A sublime strike. What you could say is a screamer from way outside the 18-yard box. And, the Brighton goalkeeper stood no chance. And it did give Manchester United, I would say, a 1 to 2 minute impetus. But then Brighton just got control of the game again and just managed the game beautifully, just dominating possession and working the ball with their short passing game. It was beautiful to watch, viewers and subscribers. It was a totally dominant Brighton performance, and it begs the question, what next for this Manchester United outfit? What next for Ten Hag? Can Ten Hag find some solutions? And in the preview show, I did mention that this was going to be a test for Ten Hag. This was going to be a case where Brighton would sting this Manchester United team. And the question was, could Ten Hag find an antidote? And the result is there for us to see. The answer is a resounding no. Ten Hag failed in his attempt, to beat this Brighton team. It's as if Ten Hag was playing checkers and De Zerbi was playing chess. The Manchester United definitely lost the tactical battle. They lost the midfield battle. Brighton was just running riot all over the park. And in my estimation, there is very little positive that Manchester United can really take from this game going forward. They just have to brush themselves off and on to the next one. Luckily, it's early in the season and there is still much football to play. So they can definitely find some form and get back on winning tracks. But it has been a fairly poor start for Manchester United. 5 games now, and out of those 5 games, it had been 3 losses and the 2 wins. Many fans would say these were lucky wins, if you want to say the early win against Wolves. If not for some poor refereeing decision, that game could have been different. And of course, in the Nottingham Forest game, Manchester United went 2-0 down. If only Nottingham Forest had better quality and had better control, then that result again could have been, worse. So it's not looking good at this point in time over there at Old Trafford. And it's going to take some tweaking, some really fine coaching to really bring this team back into a sort of shape to get some performances out of this team. Of course, injuries there as well. Players on suspension, issues with Sancho, issues with Anthony, injuries to Wan-Bissaka, injuries to Mount, lots of injuries, lots of issues, taking place over there at Manchester United. One wonders, if Ten Hag can manage the pressure at this point in time. One wonders if results continue along this path, when will the fans turn? We heard some boos during this game when, substitutions were being made, the fans were booing, and to me, this is a clear sign that things are not well. These are symptoms of a growing disease over there at Old Trafford, and it's up to the coach to find the antidote, to change the narrative coming out of the Manchester United camp. But I must say, kudos and congratulations to Brighton. Brilliant performance. My hat must go off to the coach and the players. They performed very well, and you cannot take anything away from this Brighton team at this point in time. And viewers and subscribers, I'm telling you, watch out for this Brighton team. They are going to cause a number of teams headache. Early in the season, yes, but with the sort of system that is being implemented and with the quality in depth that they are now showing in terms of, players coming off the bench. We saw Welbeck getting an early goal and he was substituted, bringing on Ferguson, and Ferguson, the young striker, he's hungry for goal. Pedro came on, scored. Fati came on, looked very dangerous, looking already at home at Brighton. And for me, with this team, the sky is the limit. It's now down to the coach to just work on the mentality, ensure the players are kept fresh and ensure that they are kept hungry, and anything is possible. It would not surprise me if this Brighton team ends the season in the top 4. Early days, yes. As I said, early days. However, from this early, I am making that call. Look for Brighton to finish in the top 4. I believe they will take Newcastle's position. Newcastle finished in the top 4 last season. And I believe this season will be Brighton's turn to go top 4. So competition in the EPL is very tight, very tough. And lots of teams making surges. Right now, you cannot count any team out. At this point in time, any card can play, as they would say. But we look forward to it. It makes the league very interesting. It makes the league much more competitive, and it makes the league unpredictable. So we'll watch on, we'll see what's going on. But congrats to Brighton, and we move. But viewers and subscribers, continue to support us here on the podcast. Please continue to, share, like, and of course, if you haven't subscribed as yet, please feel free to do so. Help us to grow the platform. The support has been tremendous over the period, and we are very grateful for that. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.